Apple just unveiled a brand new Mac that might just change everything. Plus, Apple's cheapest iPhone just got better, the iPad Air got some important updates, and surprisingly, there is a lot to unpack from this Apple March 8th event. So in this video, I'm breaking down everything you need to know about the March event that just wrapped up. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the stuff you should buy, the stuff you shouldn't buy, maybe you want to wait just a little bit longer, and also some stuff you missed if you weren't paying attention. Let's break it down. So in case you missed the event, take a moment to enjoy some of these beautiful shots, some of the amazing transitions, the beautiful cinematography. Take a moment because we're going to move past this very quickly because we've got a lot that we've got to talk about. First things first though, let's start with some of the more predictable things from this announcement and get some of the sort of more boring stuff out of the way, like this product here, the all-new iPhone SE. Now, stop me if you've seen this design before. The iPhone SE version 3 now in 2022 remains largely unchanged from its older model that released in 2020 with a couple of noticeable changes here. But first, the design, yes, really nothing changed here on the outside. This is the same design as the iPhone SE from 2020, which is basically the same design as the iPhone 8 from 2017. So now about 5 years later, this design is sort of starting to show its age just a bit, but the iPhone SE now does pack a whole lot of value and I guess even more features for the dollar than it ever has before. Which leads us nicely to our first big change, and that is with the processor. Inside of this all-new iPhone SE is Apple's latest and greatest mobile silicon, the A15 Bionic processor. This is the same processor that's in the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini, and it can pack a whole lot of value and power in that small size. You can play games, you can watch movies, you can do even video editing and photo editing on your iPhone, and this processor is not going to break a sweat. For a, sub $500 phone, you've got a really great flagship processor built right inside. The other big story with the iPhone SE is 5G support built in. So again, for a sub $500 phone, you now have the latest and greatest sort of mobile connectivity at your fingertips. So you can get access to blazing fast speeds built right into the latest generation of the iPhone SE. So if you do a lot of streaming or you do a lot of downloading, you want to download apps in an instant just like that, the new iPhone SE can do that. Some other iPhone SE tidbits worth mentioning is that Apple did add tougher glass to the front and the back of this new iPhone SE. It should pack better battery life, and it should also have some more modern camera features with an upgraded camera. Apple didn't specify exactly what was gonna change, but it'll support HDR4, Deep Fusion, stuff like that. And that's about where the story ends for the iPhone SE. There's really not a whole lot to say here. I will say for the price, for about $400, depending on carrier incentives and stuff like that, it's a really good phone and does give you a lot of value for the dollar. And if you want to save some money and still have access to a flagship processor, a really good camera, and still a really great phone, albeit with a little bit of an older design, you cannot go wrong with the iPhone SE, especially with the latest and greatest iPhone SE version 3. This new iPhone SE starts at $429. You can pre-order this Friday and it'll be available on March 18th. And the iPhone SE was actually not the only iPhone to get some love at this spring event. Just like last year at Spring Loaded, the iPhone 13 is getting a new color option this year with a new green color coming to the iPhone 13 very soon. It sort of reminds me of the midnight green of the iPhone 11 Pro series from a few years ago. So if you're a fan of sort of that green, sort of similar to the Apple Watch Series 7 as well, this looks really nice. A green color option is also coming to the iPhone 13 Pro as well. So these new colors will be available to pre-order this Friday, and it'll be available on both the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro on March 18th. Next up, let's talk iPad with some important updates coming to the iPad Air. Now, the iPad Air has been a great overall tablet. It's been sort of a trailblazer in its class, but also very important in sort of the iPad lineup as it stands. It was the first iPad to sort of get that refresh and redesign to match the higher end iPad Pro, and it still looks super good and super modern as we head even further into 2022. It's got slim bezels, it's got Touch ID built into the power button, it's got some great color options. It is a fantastic tablet that's now getting a little bit better today. That's because Apple is making some big moves with the processor inside of the iPad Air, moving from the A series chip, not to the A15 Bionic, but actually to the M1. So now you have desktop level Apple Silicon in this iPad Air. So watching movies, playing games, editing photos and videos, this processor should not break a sweat with anything and should be more powerful and more efficient than any processor that's been in the iPad Air has ever been before. And also another change here is 5G built in. So if you do opt for the cellular version of the iPad Air and you wanna take advantage of those blazing fast cell speeds, you can now do that with this latest generation model, which is really cool to see. Apple is also bringing their center stage technology to the front-facing camera of the iPad Air. So this sort of automatically sort of tracks you around the room as you sort of walk and talk. If there's a number of people in the frame, it sort of moves automatically. We've seen this on the iPad Pro and other iPad models. Nice to see, of course, on this latest gen iPad Air 2. The iPad Air also got some slightly tweaked colors with this new model as well. Starts at the same $599 price tag, and of course, you can pre-order it on Friday and it'll be available on March 18th. All right, so with that stuff out of the way, let's move on to some of the most interesting parts of the event, and that really all centered around the Mac. Those last minute leaks, they were true, and at this event today, Apple just showed off their all new latest and greatest Mac. This is the Mac Studio. This new Mac is fascinating and a really interesting move for Apple to make for a couple of big reasons. First, in terms of design, I just sort of love this design. It's almost sort of a throwback to the old G4 Cube that we had many, many years ago. It sort of looks like a couple of Mac Minis, 2, 3, or 4 stacked together in this sort of odd, but also sort of cool looking design that might not be for everybody, but I'm digging it. I'm a fan of this design that sort of is this new boxy sort of XL Mac Mini almost. And beyond just looks and design of this computer, one of the most interesting things about this debut is that Apple is now sort of entering the mid-tier desktop market. If you wanted a powerful Mac, your choices were a bit limited. Most people would go with the MacBook Pro. You might have gone with the iMac Pro, which is no longer available, or you jump all the way up to the Mac Pro. There wasn't a good solution if you already had your own keyboard, your own mouse, your own display. Really, the only option was to go with the Mac Mini or go with the Mac Pro. There really wasn't anything in the middle if you didn't need that built-in display. That is really until now. This new Mac is here to sort of sit right in the middle and give you power and performance for those creative professionals or those who are doing photo editing, video editing, those who need the power, but who don't need to go all the way up to the Mac Pro. It's a great sort of mid-tier level that I think is gonna be a really big hit with YouTubers, content creators, video editors, photo editors. I can see so many people who are going to love this all new Mac. And in terms of processing power, Apple is working their magic once again with their Apple Silicon with a couple of really good options to choose from with this all new Mac. Apple is offering 2 different configs of Mac Studio, one with the M1 Max chip from the MacBook Pro, and one with the all new crazy powerful M1 Ultra chip. This new M1 Ultra is just crazy, and it basically is like 2 M1 Max chips put together. It's got up to a 20-core CPU, a 64-core GPU, and supports up to 128 gigabytes of unified memory. The Mac Studio is gonna start with a price tag of $1999 for its M1 Max config, which I'm sure there's gonna be many different configs on the Apple website. And if you wanna jump up to the M1 Ultra chip, the latest and greatest, the best of the best, that's gonna start at $4,000. But wait, that's not all. What else would you like to pair with this Mac on your desk? Maybe a new keyboard, maybe a new mouse, or a new nice, premium, very high-end, but also affordable, all-new Apple display. And I say affordable, relatively speaking, because the only other option in Apple's lineup as of right now is the Pro Display XDR, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, especially if you go for the matte anti-glare finish, you have the stand on there and other options, you are looking at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 easy. So this is a much better option, a much more affordable option for those who want a nice display, but who don't need all the bells and whistles or the price tag of the really nice and beautiful but expensive Pro Display XDR. So this is the Studio display. It's supposed to be the perfect pairing with your Mac Studio, MacBook Pro, or even now that dated looking Mac Mini, and should deliver a whole lot of value for the price. This is a 27-inch 5K display, and it looks really nice. It's got a design very similar to the Pro Display XDR, but of course in a smaller form factor. It is not a mini LED panel, so it's not at the level of Pro Display XDR, but it's also not the same price as that higher end display. It's got an all aluminum design, a couple of different stand options. It supports up to 600 nits of brightness and also supports Apple's True Tone tech that'll automatically sort of adjust the white balance based on the lighting conditions in your, well, office, room, or your studio. It's also got an A13 Bionic chip inside that should be helpful for the built-in camera and mic array, specifically with the center stage equipped 12 megapixel camera, great for your conference calls, as well as an excellent microphone array so you're crystal clear on your FaceTime or Zoom calls, and also an excellent array of speakers built into this monitor as well to give you a pretty good spatial audio supported audio experience from the speakers directly from your Mac Studio display. Like I mentioned, there are a couple different stand options and finishing options for this monitor, but there really only is one size, 27 inches. It's gonna come with a price tag of $15.99, and you can order it today, and it'll be available on March 18th. But before you press buy on the Apple website, I do just have to play devil's advocate for just a second, just so you know sort of the rest of the 2022 roadmap. If you are sort of impressed by these announcements and this is the perfect Mac for you, then by all means, buy this thing, you'll be happy and you will be good to go. But if you've been waiting for a redesigned Mac Pro with new Apple Silicon and something supercharged, that is expected to come sometime near the end of the year or possibly now into 2023. A new Mac Pro is coming, we just don't exactly know when. Also, if you're a fan of sort of the iMac form factor, you like having the display built in, you're looking for a 27-inch mini LED ProMotion display with a computer inside, that's where the iMac Pro is going to be perfect. Again, you know, in all transparency, this is just a rumor, but we are hearing that Apple is working on an iMac Pro and a Mac Pro, so if you're looking for another desktop solution, some other options are coming, hopefully by the end of the year, if not into early 2023. Again, this is just rumors, but I just gotta tell you so you can make the most informed buying decision possible and sort of, you know, make the choice that's best for you and your wallet. And of course, if you are a fan of laptops and you've been waiting for the MacBook Air, yes, the MacBook Air is still expected to come sometime this year. This is rumored to have the M2 processor inside. It's gonna have that radical redesign with sort of that very industrial design on the outside, the white accent colors on the inside. You've got MagSafe, a mini LED display. If you're a fan of laptops, the all-new MacBook Air is shaping up to be better and better and better, but obviously you're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer until that's released, hopefully sometime later on this spring into the summer, or maybe fall of later this year at the latest. As always though, I wanna hear your thoughts. Were you excited by this event? Were you bored? Was it overwhelmingly positive? Was it negative? What are you gonna pick up? New iPhone, new iPad, new Mac? Let me know your thoughts down below on how Apple did with this March 8th event and if you're gonna be picking up any of the new stuff announced. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm Robert Rosenfeld from the Apple Circle, and I'll see you all in the next one.